Today in the studio, folks, I got a real treat for you, especially if you like making money. If you like making money, dude, I'm telling you guys right now, this fool Will Totten, like you've been taughting people how to do it?
Yeah, rotten and Totten.
Will Totten, entrepreneur and basically import king. But what's interesting about you, Will, to me anyway, is you spent 123 months in the old pen.
Mm-hmm.
What for?
I was actually distributing methamphetamine and money laundering.
Dang. So you was dealing them drugs.
Yeah.
And they cracked you?
Yeah, cracked me over the head.
Did someone narc on you?
Hard to narc on me when I'm number one. You know, I'm number one on the case, so I was kind of high in the totem pole.
So how much money were you making when you were out there slanging speed?
Like millions.
Hand over fist?
To be honest with you, yeah.
And was it dangerous? Because whenever you're dealing drugs, it gets dangerous, doesn't it? You could get stuck up, robbed.
Well, it's not too dangerous when you're the guy, right?
So you were the danger.
Yeah, somewhat.
So how'd you get popped?
A lot of wiretaps and some informants. You know, a lot of wiretaps and stuff like that. They had a window about 6 months where an event happened. So in this event that triggered them on them seizing some
get up on that mic.
From them seizing some weight at the harbor in harbor.
How much weight?
I think that was 10 pounds.
Dang,
10 pounds
dog,
of meth
shit. Yeah. Kingpin.
So they found that, and then that led to an investigation, which was like a 6-month window. So they started tracking everything we were doing from that time to October 17th, 2003, when I got arrested. So anything prior to that, they had no knowledge or no recognition of what we were doing. But just within that 6 months, there was a thick discovery and just files and files of what we were doing in wiretaps. You know, so that's how the feds are, right? The feds are kind of like we're gonna keep letting them go and just compile all this paperwork and stuff on you, so you have to plead guilty. You know what I mean? There's no going to trial, right? You know?
Well, that's what the feds are famous for. They don't come get you. By the time they come get you, dude, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they got enough evidence or they wouldn't be coming to get you.
Mm-hmm. So,
but still, you got popped and you got sentenced to 10 years in prison.
10 years and 3 months to be exact.
Did that make your ass pucker?
I got prepared, right? They tell you before you get sentenced, make sure to do a lot of squats, right? So when the judge gives you that sentence, that you're able to stand, right? So when he gave me that 123-month sentence, I was standing tall.
How many were you expecting?
Well, 10 years. There's a minimum of 10 years that conspiracy charge carries. So you have to get sentenced 10 years minimum. Or if you go underneath that 10, that means that, you know, there's something wrong with the picture, right? Either you cooperated or, you know, you did something to get below the minimum mandatory sentence of 120 months.
Where'd you go to prison?
I went to prison first. I got locked up at the Federal Detention Center in Hawaii. Then I ended up going to San Bernardino. Then I ended up getting to Victorville. Then I went to the Oklahoma City Transfer Center in Oklahoma. And then
Diesel therapy?
Yeah. And then actually Con Air, right? Then I got to the Oklahoma Transfer City Center and finished my time at a medium security prison, FCI El Reno, Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. So FCI medium.
Yeah. So in the prison system, there's status, right? There's camp status, which is for the non-violent offenders, you know, low risk, and then there's the low facility, and there's the medium facility, and then there's the supermax, right? You know, the penitentiaries, the USPs, you know.
You don't want to be in one of those.
Yeah, but I was still with lifers and guys who had, like, you know, 40 years and.
Yeah, but still, it's medium.
Yeah, it's medium facility, but, you know, I was a lot of guys from, you know, Texas, Washington D.C.
Now when you went in there, you weren't Mr. Top Dog anymore, were you?
No, not at all.
Did you have to walk in and find your people?
Yeah, so me being from Hawaii, we're considered islanders, right? So islanders, we roll with islanders, Asians. That's our group, right? And then you'll have the ABs, which are the white boys, and then you have the blacks, and then you'll have the the paisas. Well, not really paisas. That's in California. You would have the MAs, right? The Mexican Mafia, the Texas Syndicates, all those guys, Aztecas, all those guys.
Who's the biggest shot callers in there?
At the time, I would say the MAs, Mexican Mafia.
I was gonna say usually it's the Mexicans. You know why?
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Because there's more of them.
Yeah.
And they stick together.
Yeah.
That just shows you that sticking together, you're unstoppable. Individually, you can get picked apart.
Yeah.
I knew this one dude one time, he was getting rolled up, sent off to a spot. And I'm like, dude, when he got back, I'm like, dude, how was that? He said, what do you mean? I said, were you running the shit? He goes, no. I said, you weren't? Because he's big old dude.
Yeah.
And he said, nuh-uh. I said, who was? He goes, Mexicans. I go, Mexicans? Like, there were some big ass Mexicans in there? And he goes, no. There was just a whole bunch of little ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
And he said one of them gets up, gets their shoes on. They all get their shoes on. Like it's about to pop off. So that's usually, an indication of something that works. That's survival. So again, we can apply that in business. We need to stick together.
100%.
Leverage. So you went through prison, but you got out, obviously, because here you are. And now you're a successful businessman. And you ultimately went over and found products to sell and or bring over, import. Let's call it import. Is that what it is? Import?
Yeah, importing.
How'd you do that? Like how'd you get out of prison? Next thing you know, you're importing shit from China.
So when I first got out of prison, I had 3 jobs. One was at a bakery called Love's Bakery, pretty famous bakery in Hawaii. And then I worked for my uncle's security company. And then I also worked for a company called Pier 1. So I had 3 jobs when I came
Pier 1
up.
Imports?
Pier 1 Imports, correct. I was at a warehouse. The reason why I got that job was because that job was next to the 24-hour fitness. So I had an excuse to go to the gym still on my pass. So I had those 3 jobs. I was juggling those 3 jobs. And I pretty much took all the hours. I was working 18 to 20 hours a day. I was just trying to stay out of the halfway house as much as I could. So when I took on all those jobs, Love's Bakery is one of the jobs that I got pretty successful at, and we were delivering bread, right? We were delivering bread to all these different grocery stores and everything like that. And while I was delivering bread, I got to meet vendors, which were buyers of the store, and I started creating these relationships. So I understand the business of who's the buyer, how to get products into stores. You know what I mean? And I kind of look at that like, I can bring some of these products to these stores, and I started leveraging those relationships. So one time when I was at home, actually, I thought about it. You know what? I said, I think I was put on this earth not to just deliver bread. This is not what my life has come to. I said, I know I'm delivering bread, but I'm here to make some bread. So I kind of snapped, right? Something in you has to kind of snap, like that one day it just snapped, right? Like, shit, what am I doing in my life, right? I got to start making some real decisions. Or do I want to be like these other guys, no disrespect, but they're working there 20, 30 years delivering bread. I don't want to be like these guys, even though the pay is good. Some of these guys are getting paid about $8,000 a month delivering bread because it was salary-based commission. You know what I mean? But I'm like, there's more to it in my life than this, right? Just delivering bread.
Well, good thing you recognize that.
Yeah.
But so Pier 1 Imports was showing you what to bring in or what?
No, so Pier 1 was just a job as like I said, as a warehouse job. I was back there just working in the warehouse. Is one of those jobs that could get me out of the halfway house. Then I had the security job, which my uncle owned. We were doing special events. And
I know, but how did that lead to now you're importing shit from China, selling it to all the big box stores, CVS, Walgreens, so making all kinds of dough? Yeah,
so there was a vice president at the Love's Bakery. Name was Byron Chong. So he had all these relationships with these gas stations and stuff like that. So during that time, there was a certain product that I brought in that was real popular. I thought it was a trend at the time. It was similar to Hydro Flask or Yeti, but I made it my own brand. So that was the opportunity I got to put my product, the water bottles, into each and every Aloha gas station at the time. And then
how many were there?
There were probably about 40 at the time, 40 stores at the time. And then for a Aloha gas station, and then
they said, "Sure, put them on the shelf."
Put them on the shelf. Yeah.
Did they sell?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So you started making dough. And then you're like, "Holy shit! What else can I do?"
Yep. So
now, what if you didn't have that connection to get them on the shelves?
it would have been hard. It would have been really, really hard.
So you got to know the people.
In Hawaii, especially, it's not what you know, it's who you know. You know, just in everywhere. So
Were people trying to help you because you just got out of the pokey?
Somewhere,
Did you get any pushback because you were in the pokey?
A lot, yeah. So that's why I say it's hard to get a job out there, right? So making my own way has always been me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's been a long time. You got out when? 13?
2011.
2011.
Mm-hmm.
And within how many years were you importing and making dough?
I started importing since 2012, actually.
So you just jumped right into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last, let's say 10 years, because it's 2022 now, the last 10 years, yeah?
10 years.
That's all you've been doing?
That's all I've been doing.
And you're just selling it to CVS, Walmart, stuff like that?
CVS, Walgreens, and then I started building other people's brands. So some of the brands I work out here, bigger brands, like you guys probably recognize, like Mr. Olympia, Jabberwockies, one of their brands. So I do a lot of their apparel. So everything started snowballing after that, right? But I started a brand too, which my brand was, and everybody else wanted me to do their brand, So I found out it was a lot easier wholesaling and manufacturing and making people's products for them, making their hats, making their hoodies, making their track suits, making their board shorts.
So what would you do? Fly to China or something?
Yeah, I flew to China. I've been to China about 13 times. I've been to China.
And then you just find sources?
Yeah, I have relationships there that I found and I've built over the years. So I have a 10-year working visa in China. A 10-year working visa allows me to stay in the country for 60 days, go home a day, and come back for another 60. Where somebody else would have a traveling visa where they can probably stay 7 to 10 days in the country and got to wait 6 months to come back in.
Damn, they're pretty strict.
Yeah. So I haven't been over there since COVID, but I ultimately want to go back, because I kind of like that place. I kind of love the culture and I respect the people a lot.
Yeah, dude, I always wanted to go there, dude. Freaking cray. Mm-hmm. But if someone's listening to this going, dude, how does that work? You just fly over there, you go to the garment district or something. How do you start building relationships?
So nowadays, something I talk about in the course, the Sim Guide. Now these manufacturers and suppliers, they're a little more in tune with social media too, right? So number one search engine, which is Google. All these suppliers you can find on Google, or they have LinkedIn's, and a lot of them have Instagram that you can find. Everybody's familiar with the other platforms like Alibaba, Made in China, DHgate, which is fine. But a lot of these guys, they like to order their products blind. They have issues, right? They order some shirts or leggings or whatever they're ordering, or their brand, and everything comes small, right? You order a large. I didn't order large. They get a medium. Doesn't fit right. So now that whole order is done. Mm-hmm. So I want to teach people the right way to order, to how to determine who's a real supplier versus a trading factory, right? Because a lot of these guys are middlemen, right? Trading factories. You want to actually deal with the real supplier, right? And actually know what you're ordering when you get there.
So you're teaching people that now, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Yeah. So, and folks, if you guys want to follow him on social media, it's at Mr. NOYORO. It sounds like what? What'd he say? NOYORO.
Right.
Sounds just like it's spelled. Know Your Role, which basically is short for Know Your Role.
Yes.
Why Know Your Role?
Know Your Role for me.
And by the way, it's NOYORO, Mr. MR. Know Your Role.
Yeah, Know Your Role for me. My mentality to it, it's kind of a mindset for me. You got to know your role in business, right? You got to know your role, who you are, who you want to become. So taking inventory of yourself, and like when we were kids, right? My thing is everybody has a fairy tale of who they want to be or who they want to become, right? Or your story or your movie, right? And you gotta determine what role you want to play in that movie or in your story, right? Because our parents used to tell us, oh, you can be anything you want to be, or you could do anything you want when you grow up. So, kind of identifying your role, how to get there, and that's why I made the brand, Know Your Role, right? So I know my role. I know exactly who I want to be now, right? It took me, getting knocked over the head and serving that prison sentence to exactly know what I wanted to do with my life, right?
Are you ever nervous you might go back?
No, those days are behind me.
You avoid them at all costs?
I feel like I make more money now than when I did before.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it all about import export? I mean, when I say import export, you said just import. So
Just import.
Export's the same concept though, right? You're selling something from here to people in China.
Somewhat, yeah.
But there's not a lot of export, is there?
There's not at all. It's mostly importing, yeah.
So what are you importing?
I've imported container homes. I've imported ATVs.
So container homes, like they build those little ass homes made out of train cars.
Prefabricated container homes, just like the shipping
Container
containers.
looks like a train car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How
much are they?
Those roughly about 35 to 50,000, depends how.
And then what do they sell for here?
Those sell for about 50,000. Oh, but when I get them, they're about 17,000.
So you buy them for 17?
17.
And then bring them over?
Sell them for 50.
Sell them for 50?
Yeah.
How much does it cost to bring them over?
Shipping rates have gone up since COVID, but a 40-foot container, about 11,000, 12,000.
Okay, so you're out 30,000. Now you're selling it for 50.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you selling it?
But the thing is, you can put two of those homes into one 40-foot container because the length of them are only 20 foot. So something like farmers, agricultural land, ag land, guys that got some property.
Those are massive though. What about the like little trinkets and shit? Because I've always wanted to go to China and pick something that you don't see here and be like, man, I'm going to import those. So I'm the only one with them. Remember those little fidget spinners?
Yeah, I got into that. I got into that a lot.
Like somebody found those suckers and came over and just sold millions of them. Like I always thought, like, dude, I need someone to show me how to go to China and just find the little gadgets that you can literally be the only one in America that has the gadgets. How do you do that?
Well, that's again identifying a supplier that their niches in that specific industry, because everybody's got the misconception when they go to China, they think they're going to get off the plane and they're going to see a whole bunch of different factories, right? So different cities and different provinces have different niches. So for example, like Shenzhen would be more electronics. A city where I do my stuff is more working with steel. They manufacture steel, metal, cars is called Yongkang. If you go to another city like Dongguan, they do with textiles and apparel. You know what I mean? So you got to find that supplier, like you said, the fidget spinners, where who sells that and whose industry that is. But you got to understand too, a lot of these suppliers, they go with trends. So they can change their factory line like in 2 days. So if it's really hot and it's a hot seller, they'll sell fidget spinners. But if that fad dies out, okay, we're switching. No, now we're selling kendamas, like wooden toys with a string. I don't know if you've ever seen those. That was real popular at one time too. That's one of the bigger products that I brought in that made me a lot of money. So
the little wooden things with a string.
Yeah, wooden the toys. So and everybody.
How did you find it though?
That one that I found. There was a store called Razor Concepts in Hawaii, and he was importing. It's a really big fad. Kids loved it, right? The parents were buying 10 to 20 of these at a time. So when I went to that store, the guy knew I had China connections, and he asked if I can get those. And funny story, I told him I could, but I had no idea where I could find them, right? So I said, I can get them. He said, you sure? I said, yeah, I'll call my guys tonight. Because I knew it was going to be a big order. He said, I'll call my guys tonight in China. He said, okay, well, if you can find them, I'm having a hard time. So I'll go find them. So I pretty much lied to him, right? And I went home and I did some research and I found a supplier that sold those wooden toys, those kendama toys. And I said, I got them. Started sending them pictures, sending them pricing. I tacked on a couple bucks, and I think he ordered like 200-300 of them, right? And then he sent me the money for them. I went to UPS.
So you found them on Google?
I found them on Google.
So all that dude had to do to get them cheaper would have been look on Google.
Look on Google.
So he didn't look on Google?
Look on Google or Alibaba, yeah. Nope. Well, he said his supplier at the time See, a lot of guys who run these big businesses, they don't have time to do their own ordering. They'd rather just buy it, right?
I know, but if my supplier came in and said, "Oh, we're out of them," I'd say, "Oh shit," and I'd go to Google and go, "Toy soldiers."
Yeah.
Oh, there's some more.
Yeah.
Why? Because all I care about is I got product to move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just got to do your own research and your own due diligence, right? So after I found that for that guy, my shipment was actually coming in. So at the time I had right out of jail, right? I had a 4-door Lexus. I called, I had the tracking for it. I didn't want to deliver because I didn't want to waste any time. So I told UPS, hey, put it on hold. I'm gonna come pick it up at will call. I went down to UPS, put one box in the passenger seat, 2 in the back, and 2 in the trunk. I called the guys, hey, I got your order. I'm coming. Can you have somebody at the mall come around and bring a dolly and meet me outside? So I said, yep, I'm outside. Call me. Dropped that off. I said, hey, when can I come pick up the check? He said, oh, later on this afternoon. Picked up the check, deposited it back into my bank account, and he said, can you get some more? I'm like, yeah, I can get some more. So I kept doing that for good 5 to 6 months. That trend was hot. So a lot of my friends thought I was crazy, right? Or laughed at me. Oh, what are you doing now? I just came out of jail. I'm selling toys, right? They're like, oh, how's that going, right? But I was the one actually laughing, right? Because I was the one with the money at the time. So that guy, true story, he ended up paying for my Ford Raptor. I know you drive a Raptor too, right? So in Hawaii, I bought a 2013 Ford Raptor crew cab. Then that truck was retailing about $75,000 at the time. So that guy who owned the toy store pretty much paid for my Ford Raptor, which nobody had on island. In Hawaii, there were probably 3 or 4, and I was one of the only ones to this day that had that Ford F-150 Raptor. Not an F-150, but it's a Raptor because you drive one.
But it is an F-150.
Right. SVT Raptor. Yeah.
Well, back then they had the V8s. They were monsters. Now they have V6s.
Yeah, so that's the one I had. I had the older body style. Yeah.
So you obviously are, you pay attention because in order to do what you did, you kind of had to be aware, pay attention, see what's going on, and be like, well, why can't I do that? Mm-hmm. What do you think stops people from taking that kind of initiative?
I think a lot of them have the misconception again. They're afraid to get burned by sending money to China. Like, what if I send them?
Can you get burnt?
You can get burned. Yeah, if you're not dealing with the right people or the right person. But to be honest with you, me being in the United States, I get burned more by people in the United States than I've gotten burned in China. That's a true story, right? You let some people in the United States borrow money, or your friends or family don't pay you back, and you get burned, right? Or you buy something from a supplier here, and it's not what you expect, and then you don't get a refund. So I've gotten burned more here in the United States than China.
Now, this says that you've worked with some of the largest direct-to-consumer companies, helping them with sourcing, importing, and manufacturing products. So do they come to you and say, hey, I need it, I need this, and then you go find it?
Mm-hmm. So right now there's an issue I'm working with now.
And you just find them on Google?
No, but now I've built my network, right? So I have my network of suppliers that I talk to.
But to find them, it was just Google. You were just using Google.
Google at a time.
It ain't like you had to fly to China and make some key connections. You literally just used Google and instigated some relationships, and the next thing you know, it's like, yeah, I can get them.
Yeah, I can get them.
And then you just tacked on a little bit of middleman money.
Exactly.
Why didn't they do that?
They don't have the time. So some of these guys, they're big companies. They're actually running their business, their day-to-day stuff. They don't have time to research. They don't have time to talk to suppliers.
But can't they hire someone for $20 an hour?
They can, especially the language barrier. They think that,
or hire a virtual assistant out of the Philippines.
Well, that's again to the misconception. They think that they don't speak English, right? So
sure they do.
Yeah. So if you're an English speaking person, and for China, say, so the factories like to groom a lot of their workers. So they handpick them bred right out of college, right? So if you go to college and you speak English, the factory boss is going to say, hey, you speak English? Okay, you come work for me. You handle all my foreign sales because you can speak good English. So that's a plus, right, for them. Because a lot of the factory bosses, they don't speak good English. It's broken, or they don't speak English at all, Do
you speak Chinese?
Not really, but I can get by. For all my time traveling there, I can understand and I can get by, and I can order my food and stuff like that.
Sometimes when I hear Chinese, like when I hear Japanese, that sounds soft and
Yeah.
but when you hear Chinese, it's almost like loud. Ding dang bang.
Yeah, like they're always yelling.
Yeah, so when you're in China, is everybody like talking loud and freaking shit clanking? Is it busy?
Oh, China is crazy busy.
I mean, I've never been, but I see like movies where it's like, holy shit, there's 1 billion people sitting in one city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like herds of people, especially Guangzhou.
Are you walking around that?
No, I've got rides. I've got a lot of friends that pick me up in cars, or we catch the high speed train. And some certain places we got to fly. We got to catch another flight.
How do people treat you?
They treat me pretty well because they know that I'm gonna spend some money with them, you know. So when I order these containers or other products, you know, a container can range anywhere from 65,000 to 100,000. So
you ever run into any triads?
No. And the triads, but believe me,
you don't want to mess with the triads.
No, but you know, I respect the people there and everything like that. They're hard workers, like I said before, and a lot of them they became really close to me, like family. Right? I'm not an email to them when I'm ordering from China. So now they put a face to a name, and I become family to them. A lot of them I've been doing business with, like I said, for 10 years already. So a lot of these people they're talking to you guys on WhatsApp, or they're talking to them through an email or Skype, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said, they don't know how to communicate with their suppliers, you know?
Okay. So let me use this as an example. So if I gave you these glasses, see these glasses? And I say, dude, I want you to go find me these. Mm-hmm. Same quality, same everything. Doesn't have to be this brand. Mm-hmm. What's a brand?
Right.
There's probably 7 brands with this. It's the exact same glasses. Mm-hmm. The person that sold me these is a brand, right? Mm-hmm. They're called iBobs. You ever heard of them? Mm-mm. But anyway, iBobs.com. No, I'm not sponsored. So I should be, but I'm not. But I do like them. These are called number crunchers, and they come in cool colors, and I like to match and shit. Like green with green and shit like that. So
what I would do?
I know, but like I'm not in the glasses business. Right. I wouldn't want to save $5 a pair. I'd just give it to iBobs. Mm-hmm. But if I were to say, well, damn, dude, iBobs is making how much? Mm-hmm. Holy shit, there must be a demand for readers. So I say to you, dude, go find me these. Could you go to China and find those?
Yep, I would find those, but an easier approach, what I would do, I would buy those glasses from iBobs, right? And I would send it to an eyeglass or glass manufacturer so they can actually touch and feel it, rather than me sending them pictures. And
they could just copy it.
They'll copy it, exactly.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Dude, China's good at copying shit.
So I've done a lot of that, like especially like with shirts or hoodies or pants, board shorts, the way they fit, their size charts, right? I would buy a couple sizes, a medium, large, extra large, put it in a bag, send it DHL. Hey, I got a package coming your way. Here's a tracking. Be on the lookout for it. Right? When you get it, tell me what you think. Can we make that? Yeah, we can make that. And then they'll find the material.
Do they make it exact or no?
Exactly.
Because again, like let's pretend I forget what these are. Let's say they're $120. Mm-hmm. In China, if I could find the source of these, I'll bet you these aren't more than $7.
Yeah, at least.
I mean, it's plastic.
Yeah. So
do you really think, like, let's say there's, $12. Mm-hmm. Well, if you told me I could get those for $12, I've been paying $120 for them. I know a bunch of people that are paying $120 for these. Why wouldn't I just open up another iBob's competitor and call these Brad Bobs?
You could. You could actually wholesale too.
I would call it instead of iBobs, it'd be iBrads.
I would just wholesale them to iBobs for $60.
Well, didn't iBobs already go to China and get their own?
I'm sure they have. Yeah, I don't know exactly where they manufacture.
So how are you going to get them cheaper than someone that's already selling millions of pairs? Mm-hmm. You probably aren't. Mm-hmm. Are you?
No.
But guess what? The general public isn't going to get them for $12.
No.
But iBobs, I wouldn't be thinking go to iBobs and sell them to them, because iBobs already gets them cheap, I'm sure.
And you got to be careful too to see if there's any intellectual property. What makes their glasses or whatever.
Who has to be careful?
Us ordering.
Why?
So when I brought in my bottles, I got sued from a company called Hydro Flask. I don't know if you ever heard of Hydro Flask.
Sure.
Yeah. So I had a big infringement case. You can Google it and everything. It'll be called 808 Hydrate versus Steel Technology, DBA Hydro Flask, doing business as Hydro Flask. So when I found that product in 2014, the water bottles, Hydro Flask claimed they had a patent on it. They had claimed they owned the intellectual property for that specific bottle. So at the time, we were doing around 150,000 a month in sales, right? So we got served these cease and assist letters from Hydro Flask. Hey, stop what you're doing. Stop selling, right? So I had to hire me and my partner. We hired 3 patent attorneys, one for litigation, one for the research, and I forgot the other one was for. But anyway, these attorneys were $360 an hour, Brad, right? 3 attorneys at $360 an hour. The company that sued us, Hydro Flask, they were from Oregon, and being from Oregon, they served us a complaint. So now we have to fight this thing in the District of Oregon, in their on their playing field. And they're going. So now I had to hire a 4th attorney at $360 an hour, right? But our attorneys advised us, hey, if you guys are making this type of money, just keep selling, dude. Don't worry about it. We'll just keep selling. We'll make it go away, right? So it drug on for a long period of time. We started working with Hydro Flask and changing some of the intellectual property stuff that they claim they own on it. And our lawyers did the research and found what their claims were true and were not true. So we started revising our specific bottle. And long story short, we paid about 125 to 130,000 legal fees, and we settled with them for 10 grand. That's it. So they thought they were the big guy that they can just stomp out the smaller competition, right? Because we were eating into their market. So that year we did about $1.2 million, I think, in sales. So if we weren't on the shelf, and Hydro Flask was the only brand on the shelf, right? Hydro Flask would have got the sales. But since we were a local company, now the customer had an option. Hey, I can buy Hydro Flask or I can buy 808 Hydrate, which was this brand from Hawaii. Hey, let's go with the local guys and buy local, support local. So we ate into their market space, and they didn't like that.
Don't
right?
go loco. Support loco.
Yeah.
Dude, now, after that was kind of settled, you just kept selling them.
Yeah, we kept selling them, yeah.
Now, this list says ATVs. You can get motorcycles and machines out of there?
Yeah, I brought in a bunch of 4-wheelers, a Chinese brand, ATVs from China.
Called what?
This brand that I'm give the name of the brand here. It's called Liam May. I brought that brand in to the islands. A lot of the kids that ride these ATVs, 4-wheelers, the parents don't want to spend, $1,500 to $2,000 on a Honda, right? You know what I mean? Because the kids are just gonna trash them, beat them up. They don't know how to drive them as good yet. So I found a cheaper alternative, which was the 110cc ATVs. So I was importing those for about $500 landed to Hawaii after custom fees and duties and everything like that. And I was selling them for $1,200, $1,000 to $1,200, depends on how many you bought. They were 110cc. So the parents rather pay $1,000 for an ATV and let the kids tear them up and beat them up rather than paying for an expensive $2,000 Honda. You know what I mean? So I kept bringing those in, and I think actually now I'm probably bringing another order for Black Friday for Christmas. So
you're looking for people who might want to learn how to make some money doing this. Right. Because you can show them exactly where to go, what to do. Do you hook them up with the connections and everything?
Yeah, so that's one of the things in the courses. I have a vendor list there that I can provide for these guys once they sign up and everything like that. And I kind of just want to pay it forward to them so they can do the same thing, exactly what I've done over the years, or what's worked for me to source implement manufacture. Some people just want to start a clothing brand. Some people want to start selling lashes, or some people want to start their niche. They have kids. They want to say, no, I want to do a kids brand for my kids. I want to import stuff from my dog cages, whatever it may be,
So I pay you, you teach me how to do it, introduce me to the right contacts. Next thing you know, what's possible for me.
Anything's possible. I mean, said, the sky's the limit.
But what's likely?
Likely, you'll save money. You'll save a bunch of money rather than ordering your hats or apparel from here locally. Then you
mean you'll save money on products because they're coming out of China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's a given. I'm talking about, what am I going to be able to do with this skill that you teach me? Can I make 50 grand a month?
You make 100 grand a month. It depends. It's all up to you. Whatever work you're going to put in.
But what's likely? If someone's really willing to do the work, they just need to know how to do it. Where do I start? Where do I go? Mm-hmm. Who do I talk to? What do I start Googling? There's already going to be a lot of people listening to this. They're going to just start Googling, trying to figure it out on their own.
Suppliers, yeah.
And then there's some people that are a little brighter than that. And they're like, well, shit, if he's already done it and he only wants X dollars to show me, well, you pay for coaching, you pay for mentorship. Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, everyone always wants to know, how do you get successful and this and that? And I'm like, it's pretty simple when you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. You figure out what it is you want or what success looks like. And then you figure out how to do it. So it's just the question, how? So first thing is, what do I want? And the second question is, how do I get it? Now, if most people just apply common sense, they'll come up with the answers. Mm-hmm. But let's say they don't have a lot of common sense. Well, then let me give one tip. Find someone who's already doing it or done it.
Right.
And then ask them how. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only question, how? I know I can go make $1 million importing, but how? Mm-hmm. Well, if I've never imported before, can I go figure it out? Well, you figured it out, right? But now you're willing to share that, so someone else doesn't have to.
Yeah.
And if people don't understand how valuable that is, because I tell people that's the hack. Hire someone that's already done what it is you're trying to do. If I've already done X, well then you pay me to show you this, and you'll accelerate your time to get there, and you'll probably save a lot of money that you would have blown figuring it out.
Yeah.
So it's mentoring, it's coaching. It's the smartest thing people can do. Warren Buffett says the single best investment you can make is in personal development. Mm-hmm. So somebody listening to this, especially if they're not crushing it already, but this is something that even if you're crushing it, you can do. This is a great side thing. Mm-hmm. Like everyone always says, what about a side hustle? This is a great side hustle.
Really good side hustle.
Yeah, you go, take a trip to China, make some relationships, import some shit. How do you go sell it to the CVS's and the Walgreens? You're teaching them that. Mm-hmm. You're teaching how to knock on the door and get the deal.
Yeah, I try to tell them to identify who's the person that cuts the checks, right? Who's the buyer, or who's the people in product development at these big companies. And for me, I do a lot of stuff with high schools. Just say, for example, high schools, right? The bookstores and stuff like that, or college bookstores that I've done. I don't like to deal with the coaches, Brad, to be honest with you. I do deal with coaches, but the coach is not the guys who write the checks, right? So that's why I try to tell people. I deal with the athletic directors, the guys who have the fund for the whole athletic department. Those are the guys that pay me, not the coach, right? So I understand that they want things, but I look for the guys who's in charge, right? Who cuts checks, right? The buyers of these guys. I don't want to talk to the store manager. If I walk into a Zoomies, for example, right? Or who's the manager? Yeah, I got a brand that I started. I want to see if I can, put my clothes in here on my brand. Okay, I'll give you a contact. Well, that's not the guy I want to talk to, right? So you got to start getting higher and higher till you actually meet somebody who can make a decision as a buyer. Like, okay, I'm the buyer. Send me a line sheet of all the things that you sell, and then what's your minimums and what's your price, and then I'll order from there.
So if someone's listening to this and they want to, go find a product and import it in, should they call you?
They should call me. Should definitely sign up.
DMs.
DM.
By the way, folks, Mr. NOYORO on Instagram. Website is NOYORO.com. And then what about this training program? Where do they find that?
The training program you can find at NOYOROSimGuide.com.
SimGuide, like SIM.
SIM stands for Sourcing, Importing, and Manufacturing.
Is that ultimately what you would say you do? And so what do? You source, import, and manufacture?
Yeah.
Now, when you say you manufacture, doesn't the manufacturer manufacture? How do you manufacture?
Well, the manufacturer manufactures, but at the same time, if it's regarding to like product development and stuff like that, I'm in there from the whole process, right? If we're making molds not me actually doing the physical work, but some products require you to make molds, right? So these molds got to be made, tested, just the whole process on manufacturing a different garment or anything like that, right? Like the size charts, because the size charts, the different materials, the different rubbers. Some of my bottles now have this certain silicone rubber, you know what I mean? So you got to be involved in the process from start to finish, right? You know what I mean? So I like to think that I'm involved in the manufacturing process, because I'm taking something from scratch, and I don't just get a shirt or a hoodie and embroider on a print. Everything is done from scratch, cut and sew.
So if I were to take this off and say, hey, I want to do my version of this, but I want a black rhino right here. Obviously you'd have to go source a factory that can make these.
That style, that cut, that material.
So you'd go to Dongguan.
Yeah.
Dongguan DeMarco.
So yeah, so I've got a guy that's, like I said, they specialize just in apparel, right?
So folks, pay attention, because there's a lot of people out there wondering, what do I do? What do I do? Well, this is something you can do. This is a great side hustle, dude.
I wouldn't really say it's a side hustle. For me, it turns into a business, right?
Well, that's what a side hustle is, because people are stuck in this rat race and they don't know how to get out. And I'm like saying, dude, you got to sell something. So once you realize, okay, I got to sell something. Well, then the next question is what? If you don't know, sell someone else's shit. Go to China, import something that you think would sell. How would you know if it sells or not? Is there any way that you can go source it and then bring a couple back and see if people want to order them and then just drop ship them?
Yeah, you can order samples. Like I said, that was when I started. The dream was to buy something in China for $1 and import it and bring it to America and sell it for $2, right? That's the kind of like the American dream.
Yeah, but the key would be where to sell them, because like, again, I know someone that has connections in China. He has a big light flashlight company. Oh, Cody Grand Adam. And he knows people in China. He's got all kinds of connections in China where I could like say, hey, I got an idea, and he'll actually get it made and then import it in. But let's say I have these things. Okay. I got them from China to here. Now, how do I go in and get people to put them on their shelves? Cause that's the hard part, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's the work you have to do. And the research before you import something, right? You got to understand, hey, I'm going to bring in these flashlights or whatever, but I want to make sure, I don't want to just bring them in and I'm stuck, right? I want to make sure that I have a buyer ready or somebody who knows what I'm importing, so you can kind of pre-sell it to them, right?
But don't a bunch of people call these people all day long and say, you want to buy my shit?
Yeah, they do. But then what makes your product different, right? Is it a cheaper price point? Is it better quality?
Are there any trade shows where people are trying to get Americans to pick up their products? Is there a trade show where I could fly to and see all the little knick-knack gadgets and then just pick and choose what I think would be popular here?
Oh, in China? Yeah, in China, in Guangzhou, there's a popular fair called Canton Fair. Everybody tries to get to that one. But nowadays, since COVID, that fair is being done online. So it's kind of virtual now.
How do I go to that?
If you know a supplier, I'm sure they'll let you know, or they can do virtual. That's the good thing about it, right? They can do virtual shows as a supplier, right? So we can find, again, like the glasses. Once we contact the glass supplier, we can do something virtual and video, and they can say, hey, Brad, are these the ones that you want? Okay, here, Brad, is it this one? You like this one? All right, let me send it to you first so you can try it on and check it out.
Freaking badass. Well, what are your goals as far as like in the next 5 years? Do you think you're gonna?
My goals in the next 5 years would be actually to start working more on the business rather than in the business. How I'm kind of full time right now. I've got about 4 people that work for me. I've got two VAs in the Philippines, and a bunch of designers that work for me. So my goal is actually just to scale it more on a bigger scale, because where I came from in Hawaii, I was dealing with a lot of the hotels, stuff like that. So now it's the same business model where I'm dealing with casinos here. So one of the things that I'm working on now, which is pretty big for me, is servicing the Marriotts, the Westins, and a bunch of these outriggers, a bunch of these hotels, they have a hard time, Brad, believe it or not, bringing in hotel towels. The striped towels for the commander, everybody steals them, right? They're stealing them. People are taking them home, employees taking them. So they have a hard time keeping these towels in. But believe it or not, they can't get them again, right? Like you said, I'm kind of dumbfounded or astonished that hotel managers or owners can't keep these towels in, right? So I'm working on some big stuff right now to actually service these hotels. And once you get into one of the hotels, you're doing them all, right? It was so bad where hotels are actually buying towels out in Maui at Office Depot or Costco, right? So now I found the towel supplier, right? And I beat the price and I beat the quality. So now it's just a matter of fact of the hotel having it in their hand. You have the product in hand. How many do you need? And we're ordering only by containers now, right? We're not ordering by pallets or cases. We're ordering by container. How many containers do you need to service all your hotels? Or once you give me that PO as good as gold, right? I'll fund it. You know what I mean? Myself. And I'll distribute to you. Let me know when you need them.
So just deal after deal. And you're looking for people to teach this to and apprentice with you.
Kind of teach it too. Teach them. But at the same time, I want to be there till they actually get their first product, from their door. From door to door, from China to them. So I kind of want to babysit them and hold their hand, make sure they're doing it right. And I'm not afraid that once I start teaching people that everybody's going to know what I do, right? Because everybody has their own audience and their own niche, right? So I think there's enough people to find that has that demand, right?
For sure.
Yeah. Not everybody's going to be able to get into hotels like me. Not everybody's going to be able to get into CVS, but they might have their own customer or their own network, whether it's selling to hospitals, linens to hospitals, whether it's selling merch to.
It could be selling rubber gloves to hospitals. It could be anything. Mm-hmm. Like the PPE when the pandemic hit. I know people that made millions with that. They just went to China, got some rubber gloves, supplied rubber gloves. It's like really just about hustling. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And you might have learned a whole bunch while you're out there slinging meth.
Yeah.
And it's really the same thing, except for it's legal. Instead of meth, it's, what do you need? What can I find for you? I just can't believe people don't find it themselves. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, I can't believe there's more people out there struggling that all they'd have to do is figure out what you're doing. They can go do the same damn thing, make themselves a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So folks, go to NOYORO simguide.com. Go follow this dude at Mr. NOYORO. Appreciate you coming in, dude.
Appreciate it too, Brad.
And folks, as always, till next time, keep it real.
Dropping bombs with the real Bradley. Subscribe now.